what is your biggest pet peeve about LinkedIn?
Oh, geez, where do I start? I mean, the reach is super inconsistent. I'm also very bullish about this idea of reaching out to the whole globe. There's 1 billion people in India. If you're not thinking about that as a YouTuber, what are you doing?
Absolutely.
Data that I love and I encourage every one of my creator clients to go and find out for themselves is conversion data. You're trying to figure out that story to answer two things. One is, am I ready to go out to brands and defensively say that I'm able to do D2C well? And then two is, oh no, I got 0 sales from my 1 million views. What am I doing wrong?
What's the biggest shift you've ever seen in creator economy over the past decade?
The fact that creators started making enough money to be in a position of power instead of a position of begging. The impact of a branded campaign is not about vanity metrics. It's not about followers and it's not about views. It's about...
Hello everyone, my name is Shubham Tiwari. I'm the head of content marketing and socials at Phyllo, and I welcome you to Impulse, Google's #1 rated podcast on influencer marketing. Today's guest is a true pioneer, in the digital media. There is no one, I guess, in the influencer marketing who doesn't recognize our guest today, Phil Ranta. Phil is the COO at Fixated, from being a pre-YouTube web video producer to leading major shifts in the creator economy at Facebook and Mob Crush. Phil's career has spanned across every major stage of digital media evolution. He's driven the growth of massive creator networks like Studio71 and Fullscreen, worked with top gaming talents like Shroud and Corinna Kopf. Is that the right pronunciation? Okay.
Yeah, you bet.
And is now shaping the future of creator services with Fortnite and Roblox at Fixated. Phil, it's great to have you with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So much exciting things to unpack from that introduction. But let's start on a fun note. If you could host a dream dinner party with any 3 creators from across the world of comedy, digital media, and gaming now, who would you invite and why?
Oh my gosh. Right now, I mean, Kai Cenat, he'd have to leave his Mafia-thon too right now. But in terms of people who are kind of true entertainers, I would do Kai. I would love to put John Mulaney on there. Even though you don't think of him as a traditional creator, he's getting a live Netflix thing. Like he's somebody who can turn out a lot of really premium content really quickly. I think I'd also have to get James Gunn there because the idea of him kind of reinventing the DC universe, and that would be a good 3. I would love that. That'd be
a director amidst, 2 creators. That's a very nice bunch. James Gunn is amazing. I mean, the way he revived the Suicide Squad, I guess.
Yes.
He did the latest one.
Oh, yeah. And Peacemaker. Ooh, what a good show.
I wanted to ask you like Speed or Kai Cenat, but I guess you took Kai Cenat's name. So are you team Kai Cenat or team Speed?
I love them both. I mean, we work with a creator named Sketch who does a lot of collaborations. He's done collabs with both Kai and Speed, and they're just like great kind of funnels for the audience, Kai and Speed, right? Like you feel like watching their content, they're reacting like you would in the audience, and they just keep narratives moving really well. So they're like kind of designed to be live or longer form creators.
Yeah, so much energy. I can't believe they have, Speed in particular. It's just like a bomb of energy. What did you think of Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul?
It was a terrible boxing match, but wonderful marketing. I mean, yeah. Like, in terms of the worst boxing match I've ever seen, watching 2 people kind of dance around each other for 8 rounds, we were just like, do something, please. But to be honest, I think Jake was going a little easy on him because he realized that he was out of his element. But that's my conspiracy theory. But the match directly before that, I can't remember their names, but the women's bout right before it was a wonderful boxing match. And I'm glad that the marketing that Jake and Mike Tyson provided allowed those 2 really wonderful boxers that probably wouldn't have gotten that much attention to get as much attention as they did. So I think that good came out of it. I think it's ultimately bad for the creator economy because the narrative of the creator economy churns out popular garbage was reinforced that night.
Actually, Netflix, fucked up my experience because it was just, freezing in the middle. So, but yeah, I got some glimpses of it. And I mean, of course, it was not a real boxing match. I don't know.
Right.
But it got us good, marketing for us as well, because we created a lot of short form content around it and got like 50,000 views, 1,000 subscribers. So worked
That's
out well
great.
for us too. You've had an interesting journey across multiple domains in digital media. What's the biggest shift you have ever seen in creator economy over the past decade?
In the past decade, oof. I'm going to say something controversial. I think that the biggest change in the past decade is the fact that creators started making enough money to be in a position of power instead of a position of begging. And like it used to be that kind of like Wayne's World, we're creating a show in our basement and it's never going to go anywhere and we're doing it just for the passion. And then as soon as the big money came in, you're starting to see a few things happen. One is people who are truly entrepreneurial, wonderful business people, creators, are building incredible businesses. I just was reading about Dude Perfect this morning, and I love Dude Perfect. And we've done some campaigns with them in the past. They've been professional and amazing and delivered great metrics, and I'm cheering for them all the way. But you've also seen as part of that, big businesses come in and try to, like, for lack of a better term, scam the creator economy, right? You're going to see a lot more of that with AI. Everyone's going to launch their AI startups where they're like, we're going to be able to create 100,000 assets a day and then throw it onto YouTube. And the dark side of money, right? Like, how do you commoditize it and scale it and then give the users a worse experience? But that's very different than what it would have been in 2014, right? Where it's like no big businesses were really caring that much except for this as a marketing play. And now it's a viable place to make millions of dollars.
Yeah. And speaking of saving creators from scams, we hosted Justin Moore in the season 1 of this podcast, and huge shout out to him, the Creator Wizard team. He, in fact, nominated Phil, asked us to host Phil on the show. So thank you so much, Justin.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate you.
What inspired you to focus on creator services and infrastructure at Fixated, and how does that align with your past work at Facebook or Studio 71?
Yeah, I mean, it came out of true need. Like, it was kind of old school startup mentality where we knew what we were good at. We needed to figure out where this was all going, and then we wanted to take the lead on it. And what I believe is a lot of creators, when you say, what do you need? What do you need out of management? They will say, I need brand deals. And it's like, cool, but you're not starving on the street right now. You're making good money. What do you really need? And they're like, money, brand deals. I need my Lambo. It's like, what? That's not what's keeping you up at night. What's keeping you up at night? And they're like, well, I hired an editor that was my sister's cousin, and they suck, but I can't fire him. That's my sister's cousin, right? Or I think my tax guy is stealing from me, or I'm burnt out. I'm spending 8 hours a day editing, and that's not even counting shooting or writing, and or I don't know how to build a team, right? So as we started really diving in, we realized what most creators need is not what management is giving them right now. They need people who are creatively minded, who can help them with content, execution minded, that can help them execute on content and distribution and all the other things that a creator should not be thinking about. And then building real businesses and infrastructure around themselves to make sure that they have a career beyond the views of the next video. So Fixated was launched with the mission of fewer clients, higher lean in, building real businesses that sustain around creators, and really working with them with the thing that's most important to a creator, which is content. If you talk to somebody who's a music manager and they say, I don't really know anything about music, they would be laughed out of the industry. However, I would argue most creator managers that I've talked to really don't know a thing about content. They've never made a piece of content. Yeah. They've never, if you were to say, what's the next video I should shoot? They'd go, I don't know, go shoot a video. I'm going to sell it, right? Yeah. So we want to shift that paradigm to being a little bit more like the music industry on that front and a little bit less like managers as sales agents.
Right. I mean, such a traditional way of doing things, right? Hiring your cousin as your manager because you trust them more than other people with your money. So the problems are the same. But can you share any success stories when you mentioned that you helped, these creators with, let's say, the systems in place, which they were missing? So can you give us some success stories?
Yeah, I mean, we're still very new. I believe we announced 6 or 7 months ago. So, but I would say that one of our biggest success stories is Sketch. When our president started working with him, he was doing maybe 1,000 concurrents. And you can never, any manager that claims full success of a talent that blows up is generally lying, right? It's kind of a mutually beneficial relationship. But being able to get him into the right collabs, being able to get him shooters and editors, and making sure that he's traveling to the right places and collabing with the right team and getting the right brand deals that integrate organically into what he's doing. Like, that took him from 1,000 concurrents to 30,000 concurrents really, really quickly. I would argue that he's probably the most explosive Twitch talent to blow up this year. And a lot of that is just doing the hard work of making sure that the narrative of him is right? Like, the social media world is not a meritocracy. It's not, if I do the best work, I become the most famous. It takes a lot of other brains to say, well, what's the marketing? What's the storytelling? What's the community management? What's the distribution strategy in order to really do it right? And although we can't take credit for Sketch's incredible talent, which is truly incredible, where I think we can take some credit is being able to put that structure around him where he can spend more time thinking about his talent and less time thinking about the nitty gritty.
Right. And, a lot of people are saying that influencer marketing is no longer about, measuring the impact in terms of reach or numbers. So what exactly are we, looking to measure here? Let's say from a brand's perspective, what does a successful influencer marketing campaign look like?
Yeah, you measure it in love, right? You measure it in loyalty, because if I have 1 million people watch my video and I say, I use iPhones every day and make sure that you go out and buy an iPhone, and none of them buy an iPhone, that is worth very little to iPhone, right? Apple is like, that was a failure. If I have 10 people watching me and I say, go buy an iPhone, and all 10 people buy an iPhone, that is worth infinitely more than the first one, right?
True.
Putting awareness aside, everybody knows what the iPhone is, right? So I think more and more brands are waking up to that, where it's like the impact of a branded campaign is not about vanity metrics. It's not about followers, and it's not about views. It's about, like, what's the quality of storytelling, and is it really shining my brand in the right light? And is it a compelling narrative to eventually get them to purchase my product or become part of my community? Now, I think a lot of brands are taking that too far in that direction, in that they're like, I'm going to spend $1,000 on this branding campaign, and if I don't sell $1,500 of products, then that was a failure, because that's like ignoring awareness and ignoring the fact that a lot of people, me included, will see something on a branded video and then Google it and find the best price and go buy it somewhere else, right? So I think that they're thinking about it the wrong way still for the most part, but like being able to at the very least have some attribution of loyalty, of lift from those branded campaigns. It all comes from how deep the fan base is and how good the content creator is at compelling their fan base.
Right. Speaking of these creators, you have also worked with Botez Sisters. And of course, Sketch, you just mentioned, who's a rising talent in the gaming arena. What lessons can, brands in other niches take from the strategies of, these gaming creators? How do these people work?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the Botez sisters are chess players primarily, but they contain multitudes. They're DJs, they're poker players, they're models, they're bloggers, they do everything, right? But I think that what brands can take from that is a lot of brands will come to you with a RFP or request for proposal and say, I am looking for finance creators who have a lot of reach in Nebraska for this thing. And if that's what they're looking for, then they're going to look for the most literal sense of those people. What they're not asking is the right question, which is, what are my goals and who am I trying to reach? And who are the people that are actually reaching those people? It might not be a finance creator talking about finance. It might be a family vlogger who has a lot of people in their demographic who are struggling with money and might need a loan, or are looking for, more interesting ways to invest, right? So I think what I take from that is the storytelling that I tell around a lot of our clients is not, hey, this is a gamer that does this many concurrents and this is their CPM and go buy, right? It's really more of, this is how you fit into the story. This is who their audience actually is. And this is why their audience appreciates what they do. And if you're able to give them an even better experience of appreciating that and tell the story in X, Y, and Z way, this is how we'll all find success. Some brands are open to that. To be honest, a lot of brands aren't. They're just like, dude, I'm just doing my job. Just like, give me my views that I need and I'll clock out. But the brands that really want to dig in and say, like, Phil, let's figure out the creative piece of content that's going to knock this out of the park, I will stay up late 5 nights in a row to do that for you, because it's so rare and it's what gets us up in the morning of like driving real impact, that we will have those conversations all day.
Right. And Speaking of digging deeper, as you mentioned, social data is, really getting more importance now. How do you see it shaping the, future of influencer marketing campaigns?
I mean, data is everything, but also data can make you very dumb. What I mean by that is a lot of people like look at engagement rate in terms of how much people have an engaged audience. It's a terrible metric for them, right? Because like people might be commenting because they hate you. They might be doing engagement bait posts where they're just like, "Hey, comment hi below and I'll send you a DM," right? That's engagement, yeah. But isn't
On
like
LinkedIn
engagement,
especially.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So it's like, I mean, what I love about data is being able to really hone in on demographic data and location data helps you realize who these people are speaking to. And then it starts to get to the why they're resonating so much with those people, right? Like when you see a female Instagram model with a 95% male fan base, that tells a very different story than a 70% female fan base, right?
Yeah,
the 70% female fan base is very likely likes them for them and sees them as aspirational and wants to dress like them, wants to be like them. 95% male means they probably want to date them or a more crass version of that. But it's like,
yeah,
it's or they talk about sports or something. So they actually care about like, so I think that like where data is most valuable is being able to back into like the real why of why they're famous, you know?
Yeah. So where do you think is the biggest, opportunity in influencer marketing today in terms of social data? What data points do you see missing? Because I understand the context that you're seeing, like 95% audience being male, 70% being female. There's a context, right? You can take out from it. What is missing? How do we help this space?
Yeah. I mean, one piece of data that I love and I encourage every one of my creator clients to go and find out for themselves is conversion data. If you tell your audience, go buy this t-shirt, how many of them buy the t-shirt? Not how many of them click the link, how many of them buy the t-shirt, right? And oftentimes I will encourage my clients to do that and just be like, just throw in an Amazon link, throw in a Magic Links link, throw in a whatever. Like I'll give them an affiliate link. Who cares? You're not trying to make $1 billion off this. You're trying to figure out that story to answer two things. One is, am I ready to go out to brands and defensively say that I'm able to do D2C well? And then two is, oh no, I got 0 sales from my 1 million views. What am I doing wrong? Like, is my audience disengaged? What do I need to fix on that front? So like I encourage the heck out of anybody to really measure their engagement through conversions. Yeah. The other one that I really love, which sounds boring, but I'll tell you why I don't think it's boring, is to really see per click how much watch time you can get. Watch time per video or asset that you put out. A view on TikTok is not the same as a view on Twitch. It just isn't, right? A view on TikTok, even if they have 100% completion rate, might be 30 seconds. A view on Twitch is 42 minutes, right?
Yeah.
That is a big deal in a lot of ways, right? I think we just saw this in the U.S. election, right? Where there was like, Trump did a huge podcast strategy. Kamala was a little bit shorter form, right? Yeah. When she didn't do things at all, right?
Yep.
Being able to like hold attention for 3 hours builds a type of fandom and gets your message across in just a different way. In a way, you become part of their second brain during those 3 hours because like someone's engaged for 3 hours, they're almost hypnotized. Like, I don't know if you've ever binged a TV show all night. I have many times in my life, more times than I want to admit. Like, by the time it's almost like snapping out of a coma when you're like done with 8 episodes in a night and you're like, what just happened? But like, the longer you're watching and content engaged, the more you're kind of getting into flow state and you're just like in it, right? And that's a very different experience than kind of flipping through. So I encourage creators to more and more, especially when they start in short form, to keep finding ways to expand that. And then eventually, if you can be a Joe Rogan and get 3 hours of watch time on a thing, you've made it. You know, that's your real audience.
Yeah. I mean, I recently watched The Penguin, all the 8 episodes in one go, and I loved it. HBO is
I need to watch it still.
Every time. And of course, I'm a Sopranos fan. I've watched it like 2-3 times. So totally
I did a
get
lot of binging of Sopranos, but I'm ashamed to say I'm old enough that I binged it with Netflix DVDs sent to me in the mail.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
you can
actually
only
cool.
binge it 4 episodes in a row, and then you have to wait for the next one to come. So
That's actually pretty cool because I mean, I have to admit it that I streamed it rather illegally, but first time.
sure, it happens.
Yeah. So, but yeah, totally. The engagement matters a lot. If you're watching Lex Friedman for 2 hours straight, it is a big deal
hmm
in comparison to
hmm
watching, let's say, 100 reels in that time period. Now, speaking of these, platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Other than these platforms, where do you think is the next wave of influencer marketing is coming from? Which platform do you see has the most potential?
Yeah, I mean, I usually don't think of things in terms of platform, right? Because like, if you have a million followers on Atmosphy, then that's still like, then who cares that it's on Atmosphy? You still got a million followers and they're engaged.
Yep.
Like, the platforms that are really interesting me right now that I spend most time on. Sounds boring, but TikTok, because of TikTok Shop. I think TikTok Shop is fascinating. I think that
Yeah,
it
growing
changes
really fast.
everything for influencer marketing for brands that
Yep.
really get it and creators that really get it. I love Beehive and I love what's happening to the newsletter industry with Substack and like their plays to go get more traditional journalists that can go directly to their audience. I love it. I think that we're also starting to see a return to more kind of like niche community apps,
Okay.
which I'm really excited about. Like I mentioned Atmosphy, which is like Yelp, but TikTok. Gift is a really cool one where it's about making content for other people and sending it. I don't think that you need to necessarily have $1 billion company to be successful. If you've got a really vibrant community of
Right.
10,000 users, that's pretty cool. And like, I'm excited to
Yeah.
see more of those kind of apps pop up.
Right. Which is your favorite app, by the way, or the app that you use the most in a day?
LinkedIn, far and away. I mean, it's where I have the most following. It's where, like, I have to limit myself on LinkedIn because I'll sit on it forever. But generally, I write a post a day and I limit that to maybe a half hour or 15 minutes of time. And then I get 15 minutes of scrolling and responding. And then I have to be like, nope, got to start work for the day.
What is your biggest pet peeve about LinkedIn?
Oh, geez, where do I start? I mean, the reach is super inconsistent.
Okay.
And that's been like frustrating. In fact, I was getting like 10x the amount of reach per post last year than I am this year. And when I reach out to my partner manager over there, they're just kind of like, yeah, algorithms change, which I get. I used to work at Facebook and it does happen, right? It's like
Right.
one day you wake up and every one of your clients is mad because they're like, we're getting less reach than we did yesterday. And I'm like, I cannot possibly find the answer to this for you. Just keep following best practices. Also, like, I think that like LinkedIn has toyed with video strategy for a little while now, but I feel like they still haven't gone all in, right? Like it just,
Yeah.
I would love
It
for them
doesn't
to
work.
just bite
Yeah.
the bullet and say, we are doing video now and just like,
Yeah.
have that be more front and center. Of course, I say this as somebody who's not doing a lot of video on LinkedIn, but part of that is I have a 3-year-old and 5-year-old and audio is an issue. So, but
Yeah.
maybe someday.
Wow. Okay. Fixated helps creators grow through products and brand integrations. How do you see tools like Phyllo's Twitch API empowering your missions at Fixated?
Yeah, I mean, building product, I think, is a cost of doing business, especially for management orgs going forward. We're not doing a lot of it now because we just started. We've got some like light tech that we've built, especially in the kind of how do you get to a faster, like, and smarter suggestion of ideation and thumbnails and that kind of stuff, which there's also great tools out there for. I think that where I would like to go is being able to find every part of a creator's workflow. And if I can
Okay.
turn 2 clicks into 1 click, then it's a win. Because if I can do that 100 times, I might save a half hour, an hour a day of a creator's time. That's huge, especially when burnout's such an issue. So I see API integrations as, it's good for data and it's good for all of those kind of things now. But in the future, I think that it's going to be able to make workflows efficient enough that more people can fulfill their dreams of being a creator without having to spend as much operational heft of and
Right.
confusion surrounding going on each individual platform and doing and clicking each time.
Yeah. So in a way, are you saying that AI, autopilots or co-pilots helping you saving that time in the processes or the clicks, as you mentioned? Do you see AI playing a bigger role there?
possibly AI, but it might be even simpler than that, right? Like,
Okay.
I'll give you one example. There was a lot of kind of upload once and go everywhere platforms, God, 10 years ago or something like that.
Okay.
There was like Tube Mogul or something like that. Right now, when people are uploading a TikTok video, then they have to strip the music and then upload it to YouTube, and then strip the music and then upload it to Reels, and then Spotlight. There's still no like one click option where it's like, not only do I need this to go there, but I need to use the native tool to make sure I don't get a copyright strike, right?
Right.
Is that AI? Maybe a little light AI for discovery, but really I can think of how to program that without AI, right? That's just simple API calls. So yeah, I think that some of it could be AI. I think especially when it comes to best practices stuff, it almost needs to be because everybody's so nuanced and you need to understand the audience and the history and yada yada. But I think there's a lot of problems to be solved that could just be like somebody with a no-code platform in 10 extra hours that could solve pretty big problems.
Yeah. And what is the next big thing that's coming at Fixated? What are you, is there a new feature you're adding or new service that you're bringing at Fixated? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, on our content services side, we've been doing a lot of work with Snapstars monetization and getting creators on there and helping them upload to the volumes they need to, and Microsoft Start, which is just an awesome window that we're working with. I think that in the near future, you're going to be seeing a lot more of those types of services where it's like, I'm a creator, I know there's money here, but I'm busy, and they just need a trusted team to be able to go do it. I think that the biggest opportunity on that front, which we're diving into very deeply right now, is YouTube. I think there's a lot of TikTok stars not using YouTube right. I think there's a lot of Twitch stars not using YouTube right. There's still a lot of brands who are using YouTube terribly. And to be able to dig in and solve that problem, because I do view YouTube as kind of like the home for content creators still. I have since I abandoned Google Video back in 2005, right? Because they're just getting more volumes on YouTube. I'm excited to take that on as a content service. Not easy, and there's been a lot of people that have promised that in the past from the MCN days on, but I think that it's an important one to help people crack.
Can you give us an example of a YouTube creator who's not using Twitch properly, or maybe a TikToker who's not doing YouTube properly? I mean, examples at the top of your head.
Totally. So imagine you're a Twitch gamer, right? You're streaming 8 hours a day. Yeah. And on YouTube, maybe you're like using Opus Clip or something, getting a couple cut downs and then chucking them up there as a short.
Right.
What would be far more efficient is to be able to find a way to cut out the ums and ahs, make it feel like one kind of long podcast. And then for people that miss the stream on Twitch to be able to sit and watch a long form. Yes, have short form funnel back into it, right? But make sure the short form clips are like actually the best, which is so hard. And Opus gets you pretty far, and I'm a big Opus fan, but I think there's a lot of work to be done there still. And then being able to like engage the community around that too, so it doesn't feel like an afterthought, but actually feels like original content. Good thumbnails, good titles, actual metadata, so it's not just thrown up there. Some of that is relatively cheap and easy to do. Like you could get someone on Upwork to do that for $5 a day and probably do a pretty capable job there, right? But some of it I think requires strategy that's a little above and beyond to make sure they're showing up in the right way, where they just need somebody to like show them the path. And that's what we're hoping to do.
Yeah, definitely. And when I look at Speed, for example, the way he uses short form content or clips from his streams to, get into the newer audience segments. I mean, just amazing. I mean, he picks up cultural, icons of a particular country, goes out and, streams a day with them and just gets thousands and thousands of followers in a day. So that's his YouTube game.
Yeah. I'm also very bullish about this idea of reaching out to the whole globe. I still feel like too few creators are doing it, right? Yeah. There's 1 billion people in India. If you're not thinking about that as a YouTuber, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like that's
absolutely.
Yeah, the CPMs are lower. Yeah, they're not going to be able to buy your t-shirts, but also it's like an incredible amount of fandom that most creators are ignoring. So like, go and collab in India, go travel there, like go to Japan, go to Australia, go to Europe, right? Like go to South America. It's a quick jump from Los Angeles.
Absolutely.
In Brazil, there's an incredible amount of creation and consumption happening.
Yeah, and the way Speed is doing, these tours of the countries. He's going to Bangkok, he's going to Vietnam, and he's streaming from there for a couple of days. It's just amazing how much time and energy you have to put in. You have to go all in, as you mentioned earlier. As someone who has seen a massive shift in the video content industry, you were watching Sopranos on DVDs. That's amazing. What's your prediction for the next big wave in influencer marketing?
Yeah, I mean, the boring answer would be AI, but I think it's going to take on a different flavor. I think what AI is going to do is really own a lot of genres that, because of pure volume, are going to become very worthless very quickly. And I mean, faceless channels, explainer videos, like those kind of like 3D animation storytellers, like those. Even I'm starting to see a lot of AI true crime, which is a shame because there's a lot of great true crime creators out there. But how can you contend with the volume where somebody could just feed 5 news articles in and then be able to do an hour video essay done with AI B-roll, right? Like, it's just those formats are going to lose, and it's going to be a sucker's bet to be a brand to buy into those formats. And a lot of AI investors are going to lose a lot of money. Where creators are really going to start shining is creators that can use AI for where it's important, but still be able to be super human and authentic in their content. And I hate using the word authentic, but what I mean by authentic is like feel like a person, like a living, breathing, 360-degree person that has like goals and jobs and loves, and you're sad and you're tired and all of those things, right? AI can't do that well. And I think a lot of brand marketers are going to make the mistake of buying into the volume of AI instead of the loyalty of humanity. So we're going to hopefully lead the charge on that and using AI the right way. And we're going to let all of our competitive set screw up trying to go for the volume play.
Wonderful. What piece of advice would you give to new creators trying to establish themselves in today's competitive digital landscape? You can take the context of gaming. Let's say somebody who's looking to become a Roblox, streamer. What should they do to stand out?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with regardless of genres. Find something that you're really, really passionate about. Because if you say, well, I can make a lot of money with Roblox, there's a lot of people doing it, so I'll do it, you'll regret it 5 years in if you don't like the game, right? You have to like wake up feeling pretty charged, because there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be a lot of days you want to quit. And it's way easier to quit if you don't love what you're doing, right? So if you're super into makeup, go do a makeup channel. Don't do a Mr. Beastian challenge things you think it'll make you grow faster. Like, build the brand that you want. Of course, if you have to conform the brand to the market a little bit because you know that you're never going to make money doing like, oh, I'm just going to like, I'm passionate about sleeping, so I'm just going to sleep on stream all the time. Like, don't do that. Like, think about a little bit about like how am I actually creating entertainment too? But yeah, I mean, it's so much about looking inward and thinking about yourself before you even hit the record button the first time. And then once you do, test and iterate. Just start doing a lot of content and think about it. Rewatch the content, think about what was good and what wasn't good, and have friends tell you. And the only way to growth is, to self-assess constantly and always be pivoting.
Right. And Phil, you're a LinkedIn creator. What is your LinkedIn content strategy?
I do not follow best practices necessarily, but that's partially because I do it for passion more than anything. But my strategy has always been, I read the trades in the morning, net influencer, tube filter, the daily brew, those kind of things. And whenever there's a story about the creator economy or the digital world that gives me an emotional reaction, I share it, and then I write why I had an emotional reaction to it. I hate this. I love this. This scares me. This is fun. This is weird, right? Sharing links is not a great strategy, right? I've heard it a million times. You don't have to DM me anymore saying, hey, that's like the lowest priority thing to get people to leave the platform. I know. I don't care, right? Like, my audience follows me because it's a deliberate following. I know I could be getting 100 times more by doing selfies and saying, this is why I think work from home is good. Like, I know. But on the other hand, the people who do follow me on LinkedIn are the kind of people that when they get a brand budget for an influencer marketing campaign, I'm their first call. And that's really the goal, right? Is not to go for breadth, but to go for like people saying, I read you every morning. I think you're even more valuable than the news because you break it down for me. And that's what I'm looking to grow. Yeah.
I mean, I've been following you, I think, for the past 3 years. When I entered creator economy, my, boss from my previous company specifically asked me to follow 4 or 5 people. Phil, of course, was one of them.
I love it.
So Phil, what's next for you in terms of, let's say, your creator career or creator profile, let's say, on LinkedIn? What's
Yeah.
next for
Well, I mean, I'm working with a friend of mine, Brendan Gahan, on Creator Authority, which is his LinkedIn influencer marketing company. I mean, just as an advisory capacity, but I think that's really exciting, and I think LinkedIn is poised for astronomical growth in the influencer marketing world, which is exciting.
you?
In terms of my LinkedIn following, I think that it's more doing what I'm doing, right? Like I'm very passionate about a lot of policy stuff. And based on the current politics in the United States, I think there's going to be a lot of discussion around policy. So I'm excited to be a voice on that front.
Right.
Um, Also, as somebody who's been very interested in Web3, right, from blockchain all the way to crypto, the good and the bad, and being very vocal about when it's bad and when it's good, I'm
Yep.
excited to see what happens to those markets and to talk about that. And I'm going to try to do more video. I'm going to, like, as LinkedIn grows their video, I'm going to take swings at it and be brave and put myself on camera more.
Wonderful. At Phyllo, we have just launched our LinkedIn API product to find creators to work with, creators such and all. So we are creating downloadables right now, essentially listicles, the list of creators. So of course we have featured you as well on our website, like
Thank
to
you.
creators to work with. So I'll ask you this question: if a company is looking to collaborate with you on an influencer marketing campaign on LinkedIn, what criteria they should fulfill to get you on board?
Yeah, I mean, because that's not my full time job, there's something really good about it and something really bad about it. The thing that's really good for creators is I don't price myself up. In fact, I have a lot of people who hear how I
Okay.
price and they are like, "What are you doing? You're ruining it for the rest of us." And I'm like, I don't care if it buys me groceries for the week. Like it's it's a nice to have, not a must have, right? So like
Okay.
I'm not picky deal by deal. The bad part is because I don't really need the money from that side. I won't do it unless it's a product that I like know and think is actually a good product. Like I've had a couple people reach out for brand partnerships and I've tried their
Okay.
product and I'm like, this stinks. There's no way I'm shouting this out. But then there's been some in the past, like I've worked with Folk on a lot of things, which is a CRM product. And I jumped in and I used their CRM and I'm like, this is great. I'll do shout outs for this all day because I really think the product is good. So, so that's the good and the bad of it. But ultimately it's like, send me a DM and we can work it out. Luckily, I work in influencer marketing, so you can just reach out to me with your goals and I can form something.
Okay. Wonderful. Speaking of shout outs, we hosted Avi Gandhi recently, and he also asked us to host you on the show. So again, Phil was,
Love it.
referred to us by multiple people. Thanks, Avi. Last couple of rituals, Phil, we make our guests go through. Since you have so many books behind you, please give us a book recommendation, maybe your all-time favorite or the ones you're reading it, whatever.
Yeah, whenever I'm working at a new company, I reread Good to Great. It's just like a good reminder. I'm not saying that I'm a level 5 leader by any means, but I certainly strive to be. So, and it's a good one to just remind you of like what it takes for a company to really see growth. I'm also just like I believe in reading fiction as a leader when you work in something like the creator economy because we're telling stories, right? Like there's no reason to be crass about influencer marketing and call it just like units of things we're selling. You're selling entertainment, and understanding entertainment where the entertainment industry is right now is really important.
Wonderful. Last ritual, since you were, nominated like thrice on our show, it's good. It's going to be fun to see who you nominate for our show. So would you like to nominate anyone?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I just feel like I have so many names that it's almost intimidating. I have been loving her stuff lately. How about Leah Haberman is one of them? I think that she's just brilliant, especially on LinkedIn.
Okay.
If you haven't talked to him already, which you may have, James Creech, who's just been like, him and I have been working together on and off forever, and he's just such a joy. Um, let's see, who am I going to do as my? You know what? I'm going to go big on this one, and I'm going to say Brooke Monk,
Brooke Monk.
who
Okay.
she's a content creator. She's one of the top content creators. She's also posting on LinkedIn a lot, which I think is really interesting. But just like explosive creator with really interesting strategies.
Wonderful. We'll reach out to all the three of these people, and of course, we'll give your name to them. Thank you so much, Phil, for giving us your time, for for being this, leading light for people like us who, get into this creator economy arena. Thank you for whatever you're doing. Any last words would you like to share with people? Anything that I didn't ask you and you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean, whether you're a business person or a creator, keep on creating. Everybody's a media brand now, whether it's personal or for your company. So make sure you're hitting that post button.
Wonderful. And speaking of entertainment, Gladiator 2 just dropped. So as Maximus asks in the Gladiator 1, are you not entertained? So please tell us. Please tell us in the comment section, what did you think of this episode? Please follow Phil on LinkedIn and wherever you find, where you can find Phil. And do let us know. Please subscribe and help us reach 100K subscribers on YouTube. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Impulse, the influencer marketing podcast, is brought to you by Phyllo. Phyllo is the easiest way to get access to authenticated creator data from hundreds of different platforms. To know more about Phyllo, visit getphyllo.com. That's getphylo.com. Also, make sure to search for Influencer Marketing Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast listening platforms. And don't forget to click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Phyllo, thank you so much for listening.